Did you know in 1985, the MLB almost had a franchise in Indianapolis? Art Angotti was a man that came too close to bringing an MLB franchise to the city. In 1985, Indy had everything in place, including backing from the city, which included 12,000 season tickets sold to become the next squad. Unfortunately, Hoosier Stadium at the time was not approved to be an MLB stadium due to its size. Then, tragically in 2019, Angotti passed away. But with the vision to bring the MLB to a city he loved and adored, we look to restore that same concept in MLB The Show 23. First step, we need a stadium. That comes by way of Eli Lilly and Company, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the US and a native Indy pharmaceutical company, which has been around for more than 140 years. You're looking at Eli Lilly Field right now. But the MLB didn't just want to add one team. Another city was looking to add one as well. Oklahoma City is looking to join on the MLB fandom. Access granted. Indy now has their new rival. And this is where we begin our journey. Welcome to the Indianapolis Arrows franchise. Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and welcome to the Indianapolis Arrows franchise here on MLB The Show 23. As always, we do an expansion franchise here on the series. This will be the second straight year we do an expansion team. Usually we do custom teams, but this year we add a little bit of a twist on it. Adding another squad into this series, Oklahoma City Wranglers, but we will be controlling the Indianapolis Arrows, a team that once was about to be a real MLB team, but now here we go in the show. So, I know you guys are probably wondering, how does an expansion team work? This is not in the show. So basically you have to do a little bit of work. Obviously you have to create your team, the jerseys and everything, and I'll assign the stadium also. But you have to pretty much gut the entire organization and then replace that with a bunch of generic players. And then you can kind of modify whoever you want, but also you can add rules to the draft. And that's where my brother GG9 comes in. He was gracious enough to draft the team for the Oklahoma City Wranglers, and we drafted the Arrows. So, a couple of rules. We cannot draft anybody over the 75 overall threshold, and everybody drafted has to have at least 3 years MLB experience, except for one player who can go up to 80 overall. So with our first pick, we drafted Eric Lauer from the Milwaukee Brewers, a left-hander who has been in the rotation in the Brewers for a few seasons and has really shown what he can do. And one thing I really like about him is that he is 27. One thing that you'll see is that I do try to get some guys with some youth in this draft, but it is a little complicated because you need at least 3 years MLB experience. And usually, at age 26, you're probably going into your first, second, maybe third year. You don't have 3 full years, but Eric Lauer will be a guy that can stick around at least through the initial rebuild. Our second pick ends up being Francisco Mejia, who has 4 years MLB service already and is just 27 years old. You can see the trend with our first couple of picks. Mejia came over to the Tampa Bay Rays. Actually, he came over to the Kansas City Royals, and we ended up replacing them. And he came over in that Juan Soto trade last season. And I think, one thing about him is that he has a lot of potential, just hasn't lived up to that. So a couple of guys bleed over from the two teams we replaced, which is the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers. I decided to keep Ryan Yarbrough within the rotation in the Arrows organization. Now, he's a guy that I actually kind of like a little bit because he has a high walks per nine. And as you know in MLB The Show, that is very, very important in sim. The next guy we have in the rotation is Chris Archer. Obviously, his prime is way in the past, but we'll see if we can squeeze something out of him. But this initial rebuild will be kind of rough. Our last guy in the rotation, Michael Pineda, who one of those guys, high walks per nine at 86. Obviously, he's 34. He is massive, 6'7", 280. What if I told you he's not even the biggest guy in our organization? We will cover our prospects in the coming episodes, a couple of them today. But Michael Pineda, a guy that obviously really good in the show historically. So hopefully he will, contribute to us here in year one. And then we decided to bring up Vance Worley. We decided to draft him because we saw him in the World Baseball Classic, and I actually forgot about Vance Worley. So I decided to add him to the new expansion series. And one thing I wanted to do with this is add some realism. So obviously the overalls on all these guys are pretty low for a new franchise. So in the bullpen, we have Jose Alvarez, who is 33 years old. It's kind of hard to find young relief pitchers who have 3 years MLB experience and are less than 75 overall. It was very, very slim pickings. One guy I've always wanted to add to my franchise is Archie Bradley. I loved him at Oklahoma when he was in college. He obviously translated as a relief pitcher, and he's just kind of had an up and down career. I'm kind of hoping that maybe we can catch lightning in a bottle here. He is 66 overall and deep potential, so I'm not sure if he's going to move from that overall at all. More than likely, he might decline. Some other guys in the bullpen, Carlos Hernandez, Sam Howard is also there, but you see he's only 61 overall. These guys probably will not be sticking around for the long term, but we needed guys to fill the initial roster. So we're probably not going to make too many trades to contend in the first couple of years. It's probably going to be a lot of rebuilding. Our closing pitcher, we decided to give a 1-year, $5 million contract to Ken Giles. He was a free agent. It was tough negotiating with him. He wanted more years. We decided to go with him. He hasn't pitched meaningful innings in about 3 seasons. And the last full season he was with Toronto, he had a 1 whip, 1.87 ERA, but that was 4 years ago now. So let's go to the rest of the position players. At first base, we have Eric Hosmer, who signed a 1-year deal with the Chicago Cubs. We decided to take him right away from the Cubs, and he is a guy that's going to be probably one of our best bats in the middle of our lineup. And he had his best years in San Diego, and we'll see if maybe he just has a good ending to his career here with the Arrows. At second base, we need a veteran in Adam Frazier, but our infield is kind of all over the place. We have guys who can play everywhere, a lot of utility guys, and you're going to see there's a lot of age in this infield, and Adam Frazier is going to have to just be a team captain right now and maybe be a mentor for some of the young guys. He's not a bad player. He's been kind of an average MLB player, but he's only under contract for 1 year. He is our highest paid player, $8 million a season just for this year, though. Then we have D. Gordon, who I don't understand why D. Gordon isn't really an MLB, at least most days, not every day, but at least most days player. To me, D. Gordon has been very, very solid throughout his career. 33 years old, maybe that's the reason why, but his MLB The Show attributes are actually pretty good. We pick up the 34-year-old Ryan Goins as more of a utility guy and a bench guy, but we need some help. We don't have any youth. As you can see, all of our infield, all 31 or above. That brings us to our most exciting player, Willians Astudillo. If you want to check out some of his YouTube clips, just YouTube him. I mean, the guy is large, but he is athletic. He's made so many crazy plays. He's pitched. He's done everything. He's played every position. Like, he's caught games, played third base, first base, second base, everywhere. He's probably going to be like the most exciting player this season. And then we have Mike Moustakas. I mean, you can just see this. No players are under 31 years old in our infield. I mean, this is where we're going to have to scout well and draft well. Except for one player, and that is Nicky Lopez. We decided to keep a couple of players from the Royals, and Nicky Lopez was one of them. He is 28 years old, 3 years MLB experience, so he is eligible for our team. A good fielder, decent speed, not great, good contact, but the power is low. He just has been kind of an average baseball player up to this point, but at age 28, maybe we get some youth out of him and he gets better. He is one of our few B potential guys in the entire organization. Maybe my pick that I'm the most excited for when we get to the outfield is Raimel Tapia. I think one of the most underrated guys in the MLB. His career with Colorado was actually really, really good. He had 3 straight years hitting 275 in 2019, 321 in 2020, and then 273 in 2021, and then hit 265 last year with the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, this kid actually hit really, really well. He's also actually a pretty good fielder, having a 80 arm in the outfield. He'll probably be in left for most of, this season. Well, that brings me to center field, where we had to make a decision. Are we going to be a team that is going to be good defensively because we're not going to score many runs? And that's what I decided to do. So I went after Jackie Bradley, a guy that's been pretty disappointing at the plate throughout his career, but has found a way to just keep getting contracts because of his awesome defensive skills. Then in right field, we have Victor Reyes, who is 62 overall, C potential, and 28 years old. He's been kind of an average baseball player as well, so maybe he gets, a little jolt to his career. So I won't go over full prospects in this video, but just to show you what our future looks like in 2027, our highest rated guys are going to be a 75 overall pitcher and a 75 overall third baseman. That just shows you how much we're going to have to rebuild in this series. If you followed my prequel series, you got a glimpse of some of the prospects coming into this series. So let's just talk about the first 3. First is the Heisman hopeful Connor Weigman. He finished 3rd in the Heisman Trophy race. He led the number 1 offense in Texas A&M in football, but he wanted to go pro in baseball. That was his childhood dream. So he is our only B potential prospect in the entire organization right now. He's 64 overall. He can play all infield positions, and obviously being a former quarterback, he has a pretty good arm at the hot corner. Our next prospect, who is number 2 ranked in our organization, is Josh Brody, a 4-year player for LSU, but still very young at 20 years old due to him moving over from Australia to the US when he was 16. He actually is a guy that could develop into something, but I think his future is more of a relief pitcher, but we'll have to see. But you can just see our organization has some work to do. Well, we need a good bat here to develop, and that is 6'9", 250 Tyrone Johnson, our number 3 rated prospect in the organization. He has excellent power. He can hit the lights out of the ball, but the question is, how many times will he strike out in the season? I mean, he's either striking out or hitting for extra bases. That's kind of what he is. He is an okay fielder, pretty below average, but his bat has plus power. Honorable mention here in the top prospects is 28-year-old Pat Washington. Maybe the reason why he's not a top prospect is because he is 28, a late bloomer. He went to the University of Minnesota. He played in independent leagues for about 5 or 6 seasons, and he's finally getting his chance to play for an MLB franchise, and that's where he joins us for our AAA affiliate in the Omaha Storm Chasers. And he is a very good fielder. He has a plus arm 84. He has good speed at 80, can steal some bases if he needs to. I just want to see what he can do in the minors before even giving him a shot at the MLB, and just being realistic, that's probably what would happen. So that's enough about the Indianapolis Arrows. Let's take a look at our rival, the Oklahoma City Wranglers. GG9's first pick in the draft was Dustin May. Maybe a better pick than ours was, but Dustin May barely made the eligibility for this draft. 3 years MLB service. He is 80 overall, A potential, and 25 years old. Now, we did replace the Oklahoma City Wranglers with the Detroit Tigers, so you will see a lot of the Detroit Tigers players here, especially the ones in the organization, but his starters did get replaced here with his draft. So Austin Nola will be his starter at catcher. He is 70 overall, 33 years old. Michael Chavis. Spencer Torkelson is also there, obviously carrying over from the Tigers, so they at least have a top prospect already. But the number 2 pick ended up being Yoan Moncada, a guy that has had a interesting career. Remember, he was once regarded as the top international free agent, one of the top honestly prospects in baseball when he was with the Red Sox, and hasn't quite lived up to that hype that he had once ago. But we'll see if he can, revitalize his career with the Wranglers. So here are what we are rocking with our difficulty. Hall of Fame hitting right now, and then pitching difficulty will be dynamic. I believe it started right now at Hall of Fame, so it's kind of been up and down from there. I've been, obviously playing the game a little bit, just trying to get the difficulty just right. And then we will obviously play automatic fielding so that player ratings actually matter. And then we will be using timing hitting. So I want the player ratings to matter the most in this. And I want to have obviously some user input, but I want, the ratings to actually matter more than anything. So here's what our budget looks like. Adam Frazier is by far the highest paid player in our organization at $8 million. Eric Lauer, who is under contract with us under team control for 2 years, he is making $5 million. But besides that, nobody's really making that much money. We have a budget of about $80 million. So we're going to stick to that, and we're not going to spend a lot of money on players. We're going to stick to being a budget team. And that's where we start our journey. Let me know what you guys think of the squad and just what you guys think of the series itself. Hope you guys enjoy this one. We'll be back for episode 2 tomorrow. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.